Hello friends, welcome to my channel. So before starting to the session, we'll talk about the agenda of the today's session. So if I'll talk about the topic, what will be the topic of today's session? So it's all about the SMTP email configuration in D365 Finance and SCM by me. Okay. Then if I'll talk about the agenda, so if we can see one by one. So these are the contents. So first content will talk about the email parameters setup. Basically, we'll see the first thing that how we can configure the app password in the Gmail. Okay, why we are using the Gmail? We'll talk about this also later. And after generating the app password from the Gmail, how we can configure the same Gmail password in the SMTP parameter page, which is available in the Dynamics. Okay, so we'll talk about the first topic. Okay, we'll see this. The second point, I mean, after doing these setups, okay, what is the next step? So the next step will be user preferences setup, where we have to define and we have to do the setups as per the each and every user. We have to enable the notification boolean. Okay. In the third one, we'll talk about the email batch distribution setup. So what it is basically, when we are talk about the email notification sent by the system, so it should be automatically by the Dynamics. So for that we have to enable the batch basically. So we'll see that also how we can enable the batch in the Dynamics. Okay. The fourth one is kind of a email template creation. So it is more or less related that after creation of a 3 steps. Okay. After doing all these 3 steps, I mean, what the message you want to convey to the user, okay, or approver while sending the email notification. So that message, how we can create, okay, I mean, through the email templates in the Dynamics, we'll see that. And if I'll talk about the fifth point, so it's all about adding the email templates to the same workflow. So when I'm assigning any email templates to the workflow, how the system will behave, we'll see that. And in the sixth point is like defining the placeholder in the workflow. So it is something when we are using any workflow to send the email notification while processing any operations by the user and approver. Correct. So what placeholder or values you want to convey in the email notification, that we have to define the placeholder in the workflow. Okay. Seventh one is something that track the email history. So it's all about whatever we have done, right? Email notifications, whether it is sent or not, or whether it is who is the recipient or who is the sender. So we can get all these details through the track email history. Okay. So this will be the today's agenda. So we'll try to cover one by one. So before starting the going to the Dynamics page, we'll talk about what is SMTP. Okay. So SMTP stands for a simple mail transfer protocol. So I want to explain this SMTP concept as a functional with the help of an example. Suppose I have a friend or I have a relatives where I have to send a email, correct, or a letter to them. So for that, there is a mediator between me and my relatives or a friend, correct? So that mediator is nothing but a postman, correct? So the SMTP is also working in the same way in terms of a technical. Okay, it also use the different server to convey the message from the Dynamics to the client's email page. Okay, so it's work on the as a mediator. So this is it. I mean, what is the SMTP? I hope you have understood. So let's proceed to the how we can configure the app password in the Gmail. So why we are considering as a Gmail, as I've already told that SMTP use different servers. Like Gmail, there is a one server through which email notification can be sent, or there will be an Outlook, or it can be any in-house email ID. Correct. So these are the servers through which Dynamics can send the email notification to the concerned users or approver. Okay, so let's proceed to the first step. You can see over here, I am on this particular page of my Gmail. So we'll talk about how we can generate the app password to configure the SMTP in my Dynamics. Okay, so if you can see over here, we have the Google account name and email ID. So we have to click over here. So it will show the email ID in the name, manage your Google account. Okay, so we have to click over here, manage your Google account. So it will reopen my settings and all. So here we have to just click on the security. Okay, and here we have to click on the search bar that app password. Simple. So if you can see it is showing in the suggestion itself the app passwords. Okay, so we have to click over here the app password, and this app password is something different because it is not related with your login credential ID and password. Okay, so this is kind of authentication it is asking for. So I am filling the password. The login password I'm entering over here because for generating an app password, it is asking whether you are the correct person or not. So it is asking to fill the login ID password of the Gmail. Then it will open to create the app password. Okay, so let's see. I'm just entering my password over here. So if you can see, after entering the correct login ID password, it is asking to generate the app passwords. So I have already created 2 app passwords earlier. Okay, so how we can create more than that? So we have the option over here to create a new specific password, type a name for it below. So whatever the purpose you have, you can just type the name, whatever you want basically. So I'm just going to enter the SMTP app password for session. So whatever you can enter. So after adding this name, you have to just click over here as the create. So once you'll click on the create, you can see over here simply it is showing as a generate app password. So this app password we have to put in the SMTP parameter page of the Dynamics. Okay, so let's talk about how we can do the setup of SMTP in Dynamics. So currently we are on the home page of the Dynamics. So from here we have to go to the module list. Okay, and if we'll scroll down, we'll found a module called system administration. So once I'll click over here in the system administration, and if I'll collapse all, okay, I'll get to a setup. Under that setup, we have a email. If you can see, under the email, we have a email parameters. Okay, so this is the page where we have to do the SMTP setups. So if you can see, this particular email parameter page is divided into three booleans or 3 topic. That is, first is configuration, second is SMTP setting, third is test email. Okay, so what it is, we will go through one by one. So firstly, if I'll talk about the configuration page, so if you can see here, if I'll collapse all, okay, so these are the booleans like general, okay, enable interactive email providers, email history, and email throttling. So we will discuss one by one. So here is the batch email provider. So it is kind of a server we are talking about. So here it will come automatically the SMTP, but we have the other provider also. If you can see this, if I'm talking about the SMTP, it's simply saying that if I'll put the cursor over here, it's saying that use this email client, use this email client for a finance and operation app. And if I'm talking about the exchange, use exchange email server. Okay, so this is different. So currently we are using SMTP. And if I'll talk about the attachment size limit, as the name itself is suggesting that if I'm talking about SMTP and if I'm sending any email from the SMTP server, correct? So what the size of the attachment would you like to be? So right now it is in MB. So if I'm entering a 10 over here, it means the attachment size uh, might be will be 10 MB. Okay, and if the requirement is more than that, then I can increase the attachment size limit over here. Okay, then this is the email expiration in days. So if you can see over here, simply it's saying that specify the number of a days until the status of a unsent email will be set to expired. Basically, if there is a email, okay, unsent email in the my email history. So after how many days you want to expire that particular unsent emails? So we can provide the number of days over here. Okay. Now we are if we'll talk about the enable interactive email providers. So in the same way, we have already discussed over here in the batch email provider that for the different purpose, these is the email exchange and these the SMTP. Okay, so if I'll talk about this enable interactive email providers, so if you can see these are the two fields available and enabled. Okay, so it means there are three kind of a providers with the different purposes. Okay, it is providing by the dynamics. Okay, standard. So to enable the SMTP, we have to pull out from the left side to the right side. So I have done the same thing over here and it is now enabled. If you can see over here. So after that, we have to go to the email history tab over here. Okay. So what does it mean is like view email history. So from here you can see the email history of the track record of emails. Whatever you have sent and to whom you have sent and from which mail you have sent, whether it is pass or fail. So all it will be available in the email history. Okay, so if I'll talk about the number of days to retain the email history, so how many days of email history you want to retain? So that number of days you have to enter over here. So it's simply saying that the specify the number of days to retain the email history. Setting the number of days to 0 will cause the default retention period as 30 days to be used. So it simply means if I'm not going to enter over here anything, so it will retention to the last 30 days of my email history. Okay. Now if I'll click on the email throttling, so what does it mean? So email throttling, if I'll see over here, it's simply saying that the email provider we have SMTP or exchange. So right now we are using the SMTP, and if I'll talk about this one, it's simply saying a per minute email send. Okay, so it simply means that per minute how much email you want to trigger from the dynamics to that particular user or as per the operations. Okay, the name itself it's suggesting over here the number of emails that can be sent per minute from the provider. So the currently provider that we are going to use is nothing but a SMTP. So how much number of emails you want to send from the SMTP. So that number we can provide over here. A value of a 0 will be disable throttling for that provider. Okay, so that message is coming over here. So we have talk about the configuration. Now if I'll go to the SMTP setting, the most important setting in terms of my app password that we have generated just before, correct? The app password of the Gmail. So if I'll talk about this page, okay, so here we have the SMTP setting, and if I'll talk about the one by one, so we have a server information, we have authentication, and we have additional resources. So if I'll talk about one by one, so server information is like outgoing mail server. So from which mail server? Okay, because we have already discussed in the intro of the SMTP that SMTP use a different servers to convey the message in terms of a mail to the user or the approver, correct? So it can be a Gmail, it can be a Outlook, or it can be a in-house mail applications, correct? So right now we are using the Gmail. That's why we have defined is over here as smtp.gmail.com. Okay. Then SMTP port number. So what does it mean? It's simply saying that specify the port number to be used with the SMTP server. The default is a 25. The port number should not be changed unless the system is specifically set up to use the alternate port. So port kind of a, it's a kind of a technical coding that we can say. Okay. Then if I'll talk about the SSL and TLS required, so what does it mean? Okay, and why we are putting as a yes. So I want to explain you with the help of an example. So if I'll talk about the same example that I have discussed in the earlier or in the intro of the SMTP session, that that if I want to send an email and on a letter, okay, to my friend, correct? So I have to use the postman, correct? So the postman, when I'm handing over my letter to the postman, so at that time I put that my letter in the envelope with the sealed, so it can't be opened by the postman or by other person during the transit, correct? So that kind of a sealed is kind of a kind of a security, right? So it can't be open. So in the same way, in the technical way, if we are talking about the SMTP, okay, provides the security layers, okay, in terms of a SSL and TLS. So when we are enabling this, yes, so it is kind of a providing a layer, security layer to my SMTP Gmail. Okay, so this is about the server information. Now we are talking about the authentication. So authentication it is required, right? I mean, from which mail ID you would like to send the email notification to your user or to approver. So this username and password when we are talking about the client's requirement, correct? So for our clients we have to ask about the admin common email ID from which they want to send the email notification to their users or to their approver. Okay, so currently I'm using my Gmail ID and I have already generated the app password in the uh, starting of this session. So if you can see, I have already given over here the username. Okay, the same username that I have logged in with my Gmail. Okay, and here I have provided the app password. So this is about the authentication. Now, if I'll talk about the additional sources. So in the additional sources, we have the email batch history. Okay. Sorry, view email history, then batch email sending status. If we are sending a batch email, if we are sending the emails through the batch, what is the status of that? Then email distributor batch. Okay. We can go to the email distributor batch from here itself. We'll talk about this also in the same session. So if I'll talk about the view email history, if you can see when I'm clicking over here in the view email history, it will show you whatever the email you have sent. Okay. I mean, not you, but your dynamics have sent through the SMTP. Okay. It will show over here the list of the emails. Okay. And what about the in the right side is it's about the subject and send date and time over here. The email recipient who has received the email, it will show over here. Okay, the email sender who has sending the email, that will show over here, and if there is any attachment or not, and what is the provider ID. So currently we are using the SMTP, that's why it's showing as a SMTP over here. Now if we are talking about the email status, so it is also showing a email status whether it is sent or no. Okay, so this is all about the email history. Okay, we have also over here also we can directly go to the email parameters from this page by clicking over here, and batch email sending status. When I click over here, it will give me the list of whatever the email we have sent. Okay, whether it is failed or passed or sent. Okay, it will show over here basically. So this is just a trial environment. So currently we are just started with the email setup. That's why there is a less number of data currently available. Okay. So if I'll go to the again the email parameter page. Okay. So we have talked about the SMTP also, SMTP setting, and we have done the setting as well. Okay. Now if we'll talk about the test email. So before that, I just forget to mention one thing over here. Whatever the setup we have done, how we can identify that whether it is setups correct or not correct. So the Dynamics has provided a functionality, the standard functionality to test your setup, right? So that is nothing but a test connection. Okay, so when I'll click on the test connection, if it is got successful, it simply means whatever the setups we have done, it is corrected. Okay, and if it is failing, then it will give you the reason for that also. There might be a reason. One of the reason is like your username is wrong, or your app password is expire or something like that. Okay, there might be these reasons to fail the connections. Okay, so currently if you can see, the test connection is successfully, so I can assure that it is the setup is completed. Now we have to check whether my email is flowing from my Dynamics to the email or not. Okay, so for that we have a test email. Okay, so here we have to provide the email provider. So as we know, the currently we are using the SMTP, so we'll select over here the SMTP email provider, then we'll click on the send to. So we'll talk about this as well, from where it is coming, the will send as, and why it is showing the April at the rate consox 7. Okay, on .microsoft.com. Why, from where it is coming, we'll talk about this also. Okay, now we'll talk about the send email. So now let's say I'm sending an email, okay, through this SMTP to one of my email account. Sorry, the Gmail account. So let's say I'm putting that Gmail account ID. Okay. So after putting the Gmail over here, we have to just click on the send test email. So let me remove the notification from here first. So it will be visible test email. Okay. So after click on that send test email, it's showing the test email was sent at this. Okay. You can see over here, I got the email, okay, test email, and it is showing as this is the particular person who is sending on behalf of this SMTP mail ID. Okay, so the SMTP mail ID is my anand.chetan543@gmail.com, but there was a boolean called will send as, correct. So it is kind of a name it is taking, okay, and it is showing here the test email was sent on this. So after these setups, I mean, what would be the next step? Correct. So if we'll talk about this will send as, so from where it is coming, we'll talk about this. So this is coming from the user page. Okay. So so which user page it is coming? Whatever the person who is going to do the setup, right? Currently, I am doing the setup. So if you can see, this is the my email ID. And if I'll go to the my users, okay. So for that, if I have to go to my users, I have to click on the system administration. Then I'll go to the users. And if I'll click on the users, I'll reach to the users page, if you can see. And right now I'm using a trial environment over here. So that's why it is showing me over here as a admin. So once I'll click over here in the admin, and if I'll click on the user options, so if you can see in this particular page, the user option page, we have a 4 options: usual, preferences, accounts, and workflow. But when we are talking about the SMTP configuration, so in for that purpose, we have to just go to the accounts and we have to do the setups in accounts and workflow. So if I'll talk about the accounts, if you can see in the accounts, we have a email provide selection. So if you'll click over here in the email provide selection, we simply see over here the email provider ID. So that is coming automatically, that SMTP we have selected. Okay. And from here, we can provide the different email ID as well. So right now, it's simply saying that overrides the user's standard email address if provided. So if I'll provide the email address over here, so from here, it will coming it will sending as a will send as email ID. Okay, so let me tell you in another way. So if you can see over here, right now the account, the sender email is showing as a april@consto, this one. Okay. Now if I'll talk about, if I'll again go to the my email setup parameter. So again, if I'll go to the email setup parameter page, okay, and if I'll see over here under the test email, it is currently showing as a apparel consto. Okay, so what will happen if I'll change over here? Okay, what will happen if I'll change over here the my email ID? Okay, so let's say I'm just going to change this email ID with a different email. Okay, so if I'll click on save button over here, it simply will update over here also. Here also, if I click on the refresh button, so now if you can see over here, it is updating as a chetan.anand8182.ca@gmail.com. So it is coming from here. Okay. Now another setup that we have to do on the workflow. Talk about the workflow tab over here. So for each and every user who is going to involve in the email notification, okay, I mean to say, if the requirement is like for each and every user in the organization required to send a notification or receive a notification via email, correct? So each and every user, you have to enable these send email notification in email and send notification to action setter. So what does it mean simply? So if I'll enable this one as a yes, so it will simply send the email notification through the mail. But if I'll put also this one also, so if we'll talk about the notification tab over here in the Dynamics, right? This is called an action center. So once if I want the notification to be sent, okay, or to be received by the user or the approver on the action center also. So for simply we have to enable this also to each and every user's workflow page over here, if you can see. Okay, so if we'll talk about the number of setups that we have done. So firstly, if I'll do the recap, what we have done basically till now, firstly we have created the app password from the Gmail, and then we have done the second setup, that is nothing but a SMTP parameter page. We have done the setups, and the third setups that we have done right now, that is user page. Okay, so the third setup, after doing these three setups, the fourth now will move forward to the fourth setup of my email configuration, and that will nothing but enabling the batch basically. So why it is required? So right now, if I'm talking about the, if I'll go to the email parameters page, right? So here we are pushing the emails while doing the testing, right? So it simply means I'm pushing the manually the emails, okay, to send by the Dynamics for the testing purpose. But after doing all these setups, okay, when we are doing any kind of a transactions in the Dynamics, so in that case, system will automatically send the email notification. So it will not kind of a manual pushing of a emails. It will be a system generated. Okay, so how the system is going to push that email notification? So for that, we have to enable the email batch. Okay, so how we can do that? So for that, we have to go to the system administration. If I'll collapse all, we have the periodic task over here. Under this periodic task, we have a email processing. So under that email processing, if I'll click over here, we have the email distributor batch. So once I'll click over here, the email distributor batch, okay, so here is the, you have to enable the batch basically. So firstly, before enabling this one, we'll click on the recurrence and we'll change the end date. So I want that there will be no end date, and the email notification will be sent, okay, within the 1 minute of my trigger of email. So it is simply saying repeat after specified number of minutes. Okay, so after how much minute you want to proceed by the Dynamics to send the notification. So I just want within the 1 minute of my clicking or triggering of the my mail, it should goes to the particular recipients. Okay, so that's why I have just put it as 1 minute. And if I'll click OK, then I have to click on the batch processing as a yes over here. So once I'll enable this also, I'll click on OK. So once I'll click on OK on the batch, system will give you a notification that the email distributor batch job is added to the batch queue. So we have done this particular setup. Now, then after that setup, we have to think about the what message I want to convey to my user or as approver in the notification, right? For that, we have an email template. Okay. So for that, we'll go to the organization administration. Okay. Then setup, under setup, we have an organization email template. So this is a kind of a mediator, we can say, where we are putting the subject and my message. Okay. So if you can see over here, we have an email ID. Okay. We have an email ID description, sender name. Okay. And sender email ID. So for example, I have created one of the template over here, if you can see. So I have just created a scenario where I have to make a payment to my vendor. So for that, I have to take a approval, then I can pass the transaction or I can post the transaction. So for example, I have created an email template with the email ID as, let's say, a code that is vendor pay. Email description would be as like vendor payment approval. Okay. And this will be like sender name. Okay. And sender email address. And after that, we have to define over here the default language that would be along parallelly to the user language. Okay. So default language ENIN. And we have defined over here email message content. So here we have to define basically the subject and my message. So subject, why it is kind of a percentage subject percentage I have used. So let's say there is two scenario. Okay. One scenario that I want to define the subjects over here and the same subject I want to flow in the work in the email notification. Okay. First thing. And second thing that I am using a workflow. So I want that whatever the subject I'll give on the workflow, correct? So same subject should flow in the email. So for that, there is a standard format that is I'm using over here, that percentage subject percentage. So if I'll do one thing, let's say I'm just putting as a vendor payment approval. Okay. So this is kind of a subject that I have put. Okay. And in the email message, if I'll click on the email message, we have a uploader. Okay. So what we have to upload, basically, we have to create a HTML file. Okay. And then we have to upload over here. So right now we have uploaded this percentage message percentage. It simply means if I'll put this template in my message, so whatever the workflow I'm using, and in the same workflow, whatever the message I have put it over there along with the placeholders, the same will be reflected on my email notification. So let's say right now I'm not using the workflow message. Let's say I'm using a different message, correct? A template. So how we can create the different templates? So let's say I have a called what to HTML. Okay. So let's say I'm just creating one of the dear approver. Kindly approve the vendor payment. Thanks and regards, admin D365. So this is a word. So if I'll go to HTML over here, if you can see over here, same thing is coming as a dear approver, and this is in HTML format. So we'll copy this. So this is how we can create the templates basically. Okay. If we want to define on my template over here. So what I have to do, I have to just copy this one. I have to go over here. Okay. I will paste and I'll save it at a desktop. Let me browse it. Yeah. So if you can see, same is coming over here. So this message will come on my email notification. So whether I want to define on this way, okay, the email template, or whether I want to define the same message, whatever I define on the workflow or as per the requirement of the client. Okay. So right now, let's say I'm just clicking on OK over here. So what we have done, this is the 4 setup that we have created. Now let me talk about the workflow. So this is a workflow that we have created, okay, for the vendor payment. So this is a simple workflow is like one of the user is submitting the workflow. Okay. Let's say I'm doing a transaction, vendor payment. Okay. I have done done the entries. Okay. And after that, I have submitted in the workflow. So at the time of when I'm submitting it, it will goes an email notification to the approver of the transaction. Okay, to approved it, and once it will be approved by the approver, okay, the submitter or the originator will again get a notification whether it is approved or not. So for that, let's say this is one level. So I have already given as name, okay, vendor payment approval, and work item subject as vendor payment approval I have given, and instruction or message I have given over here as like this. So if you can see, I have given as a generic name, dear approver, kindly approve the vendor payment for the general number. And I have defined over here the placeholder. Okay. From here, we can define the placeholder and with the amount. So I have defined the total amount as well. And the amount is nothing but a total of a general. Okay. So this is not something like we are defining on the basis of lines. So it will be defined on the basis of general names. Okay, so let's say if there is a general number and containing 2 transactions or 3 transactions, so it will show the totals of general names. And I have given the link over here also. Kindly click on the link workflow. Okay, regards. So if I'll define the templates over here, the percentage, subject, percentage. So whatever the subject over here it is given, right? Same will be come to my email notification. And if I'll define in the emails message over here, if you can see. So right now I am giving this email message, but if I'll given as percentage message percentage, so the system will pick the workflow message. Okay. And it will flow into the email with the placeholders. So we'll see that also. Okay. So this is first thing. Then after this, if I click over here in the outside, I have the basic settings and notification. So this is kind for the submitter. So if you can see, I have defined as like if it is approved, what message should user will get. So I have defined over here, dear user, your vendor payment general. Okay, with the same I have given the same placeholder over here. That general number, what is the general number, what is the amount. Okay, and I have given the link over here also for the approver, like it is approved by the approver I have given. And if I'll go to the reject one, and who will get the notification over here. Okay, so here is the recipient, and workflow user I have given as a originator. So originator is something who has submitted the workflow simply. Okay, and if it is rejected, I have given the same thing, okay, with a different message as it is rejected by the approver. Kindly click on the link and process further, like that. And again, we have defined as recipient, workflow user, and it will be like workflow originator. Okay, so whether it is approved or rejected, again user also will get a notification. Okay. So, and how we are linking this particular template, correct, to my workflow. So for that, again, we'll go to level up. Okay, 1 second. So here we have basic settings, right? And here we have to give the workflow name, correct, and owner name and email template. So if you can see over here, system will show you whatever the email templates you have created, right, in the organization email template, same will be reflect over here in the list. So I have selected this particular email templates, okay, from the list. But there is a one point, okay, if we are creating any templates for the PR creation, correct, the purchase requisition. So that you will not find in the list, even if you are creating the templates in the organization email templates. So for that we have a system admin templates. So once I'll create a email templates for the PR on a system email template, system administration module, I mean to say. So that list will be shown here. Okay. What I'll do is I'll change the placeholder. I hope it is clear. I'm just putting as percentage subject percentage. Okay. So I want to flow the message on the template on the email from my workflow. So that's why I'm just changing it. So now I have changed the email message on subject. So it will come from my workflow. Okay. So this is the fifth setup, and this is important setup that we have covered. Okay. And where it will be reflected, let me show you one of the mail that I have just created. So if you can see, this is kind of a email that we will get. So this is vendor email approval. Like, so whatever we will give over here, the email description, same will be reflect on my email notification. Okay. And this is admin. Okay. The sender name. So whatever the mail your client want, correct. So that you can provide over here. The admin I have given as a admin D365, and this is my SMTP mail ID. Okay. So now let's make a simple scenario that I have to make a vendor payment. Okay. So I'll go to the accounts payable. I'll go to the vendor payment general. So before that, one more setup is there, like because we have created this particular workflow, correct? So for that, if I'll go to the vendor payment general, the same workflow we have to define on the general name. So if I'll click on the general name over here, I have defined the same workflow, correct? If you can say vendor disbursement general. So what I have done basically, I have defined the same workflow in this particular general name. Okay. And then through this same general name, I'll create a transaction. So let's say, I think it is already there. Okay. So I'll create once I'll select over here the general name, automatically you can see the workflow is enabled. Okay. Now let me fill the details over here inside of this general name. So let's say I'm selecting the vendor from the master. Then I'm just putting any value, dummy value. Let me define the financial dimensions. So same should be reflected on my offset account. Okay. Now let's say I'll change to the offset account as bank, and I'll select as India, and I'll change the payment status as, this is a normal transaction or entry that we are following. Okay. So right now, if you can see, let me validate. So if you can see over here, because of the workflow is enabled over here in the payment transaction, the post button is disabled, correct? So now for processing of this, I have to submit. So after doing all the validation, what I'll do, I'll go to that same batch over here. Okay. And I'll click on the workflow and I'll submit it. You can give your comment, please. If you are not giving also, it is fine, because the comment will automatically come from your workflow. So nothing to worry about it if it is blank also. Okay. So once I'll submit over here, it will start the batch basically, but whether it is getting or not. Okay, so let me check in the view history. See, right now this process has been enabled. Okay, I mean the workflow is done. Okay, workflow is started. Now at this stage, okay, once I'll submit as a requester, I have submitted. Okay, so if you can see right now, I am the submitter as well as the approver, correct? So right now, if you can see, there are two things. The approver should get an email notification, correct? But whether the approver has get the email notification or not, so for that we have the option. If I'll go to the dynamics and email history, so I can check whether the email has been sent or not. Firstly, okay. So if you can see over here, vendor payment approval. So dear approver, so the message is coming from my workflow. So I have given the placeholder of the general number, okay, 397, and my general batch amount basically. So it would be like, let's say you are the approver, okay, you are clicking over here. So it will redirect to the same page, but it will be a condition like whether you are logged in or not. So it is like a same process. You have to log in first and it will redirect you to the same page and same general number. Okay. Earlier we have seen that there was two unposted transaction, but it is initially when you click on the link, it is showing only the assigned task, correct? So as a user, what I'll do, as a approver, I'll select this particular transaction and I'll click on approve from the master, and let's wait for approve. So once it will be approved, again the submitter, okay, who has submitted the workflow will again get a notification that it has been approved. So what the submitter will do again, let it approve. See, it is completed now. If you can see, this is, dear user, your particular vendor payment general, okay, same, the amount has been approved by the approver. Okay, kindly click on the link and process further. So what now the user, okay, or the submitter will again click on the link, okay, and it will the same thing happen with the user as well. Like it will redirect to the same page with the same journal name. Okay, the user will come over here and post the transaction. Okay, so this is it.
Thank you so much for watching my video. I know it is kind of a lengthy, we can say, but it is because of we have shown the complete setup end to end. So still, if you have any doubt, you can contact me over the WhatsApp, and this is my personal email ID. Thank you so much for watching.